Hi everybody, I thought I'd come on today just to speak about my own vocal health journey and the vocal issues that I had back in 2016 that led me to where I am today. So back in 2016 I was experiencing some vocal issues. I was becoming hoarse a lot. All of a sudden then I was doing this one gig. This was for a corporate. I was in this kind of 80s cover band. And I was singing a Madonna song, as you do, and I was going for this note. It wasn't particularly high, or I wasn't really forcing my voice or anything, and I felt a little pop in my throat. Didn't hurt, it just, I knew something wasn't right. On that particular gig as well, there wasn't any in-ear monitors. I had just floor monitors and it wasn't enough. This huge big marquee, there was about 2,000 people at it, and so we really needed in-ear monitors, but on that gig there wasn't any. A week after, I was still completely hoarse. I had no voice whatsoever. I said it to the manager at the time of that band that something was seriously wrong. I wasn't able to rehearse. I might have to cancel a load of gigs, and his response was, "You'll be grand, you'll get your voice back, it's fine." But needless to say, I didn't get my voice back, and it was completely gonzo. I knew it just wasn't, something was very wrong. So I left the band, I stopped recording, I stopped doing all the original stuff I was in. I just stopped everything for a few months anyway. And I went to an ENT specialist after getting the referral from my GP. The ENT just put a scope up my nose, down my throat, just a flexi-scope, diagnosed me with early onset nodules and a vocal hemorrhage. So the vocal hemorrhage, that's what the little pop was on my vocal cords, so kind of nasty. It's basically just like a glorified bruise on your vocal cords, just a blood vessel burst. The early onset nodules as well, they're only small, but they still created air pockets. Your vocal cords are like that, and they vibrate off each other like this, and also like that. These kind of little nodule obstructions in the way where the two vocal cords meet was creating two little air pockets, and alas, didn't have a very nice kind of sound. Breathy, my upper register was completely gone. Nothing came out at all, just air. So needless to say, I was very worried. I was very depressed. I didn't know who I was anymore. Your voice is your identity, and this was gone from me. So I didn't know my voice, didn't know myself, couldn't be myself. It affected me financially, psychologically, socially, emotionally, all the things that you can imagine. That's what happened. I was trying to look for a speech and language therapist, and there wasn't one for the guts of a year, which wasn't good for me because as a performer, I was also a teacher at the time as well, session singer, all these other little bits I was doing. Couldn't do any of it. That was my income, so what was I going to do? It needed to be fixed immediately, and these things, there's no magic pill you can take. You just need to take the time to heal. I signed on and stopped gigging completely, and I studied speech instead. I was able to go to college classes in Portobello I went to, and it was a speech and language theory and practice course that I did. So I thought if I couldn't get a speech and language therapist, I may as well learn how to do it myself so I could heal myself. So I thought that might have been a quicker kind of option. I completed that, and that took the guts of the year to do. So while I wasn't gigging, I was studying and got a job in Peamount Hospital almost immediately after I graduated from that course. And I found myself in an office full of about six speech and language therapists. So I was an assistant to them. So now I had all the access that I needed. It wasn't my intention, but it just kind of happened that way. I was also getting paid for it. So I came off the dole when I got the job, and I was able to ask the speech and language therapists all the questions I wanted to every single day. They gave me books that I could read. They just gave me little tips along the way. And it was just a dream come true. I was in absolute heaven. Speech language therapists are essential to singers, to professional voice users, anybody that needs a speech and language therapist. They are just the best people in the world. They're brilliant. But at the same time, they don't have the same expertise that a singer would. They don't use their voice in the same way that a singer would. And then a singer wouldn't really know what a speech and language therapist does, or how to recognise a vocal problem and what to do with it. So there was this little niche in between, SLTs, speech and language therapists, and singing teachers. There was just this niche in between, and I just had to find a way to mesh the two professions together so we could educate each other and give singers, first and foremost, the quickest help that they can get if they run into vocal issues. That was my main goal. So that's where Voice Care Ireland came from. This was just before COVID as well, when I left Peamount. During all that time, by the way, my voice was healing and it was coming back, but it wasn't the way that I wanted it to be as it was before. And it wasn't just the note that I sang either that gave me the vocal problem. It was lack of sleep, lack of water intake, and poor diet, poor lifestyle basically, and not looking after myself properly that led to my vocal issues. It's not just your voice, it's your body as a whole. It's everything all together that makes your voice work. None of it was really syncing. So you need your breath work, your vocal technique, vocal placement, diet, your sleep, your mental state. All of that needs to be hand in hand with each other for your voice to be in tip-top shape. So all of that was just off for me, and that's how I ran into all that stuff. So after, I was working at Peamount, I got the itch to get back to music again. I missed it so much. During that time as well, by the way, I was giving one-on-one speech therapy to stroke patients, neurological disordered patients, dysphagia treatment to patients that have problems swallowing, intellectually disabled people. So as I said, I just fell in love with everything to do with the voice, speech, singing, all of it was amazing. And I wanted to get into voice disorders. So if I was to get into voice disorders, I would literally need to have about 5 degrees to get all the areas that I want covered. So like medicine, physiotherapy, psychology, nutrition. It was just impossible. There's no way. So I wanted to try and find this kind of course that would have all of these things in it. So nothing like that existed in Ireland. And during COVID, the very start of COVID actually, during the first lockdown, I found a course over in England, in London, called Vocal Health Education. They had just opened a brand new course on vocal health. They base everything on the biopsychosocial model, everything to do with anatomy, psychology, diet, how you look after yourself as a person, mental well-being, all of these things in one course. I couldn't believe it. I did it straight away, qualified, and so now I'm a vocal habilitation professional. That means that I'm able to recognise if there's a vocal issue, know what to do with it. If I'm not able to help the person myself with certain treatment plans that I might give them, different vocal techniques, SOVT treatments, all this kind of thing, I can refer them on to SLT, speech and language therapists that I know, or ENT specialist, or orofacial pain person if it's their face, their jaw, anything that might be an issue. It's very vast. It's still on the up and up. My profession it doesn't exist here in Ireland. It doesn't exist in most countries around the world. I'm one of 55 vocal health professionals that I know of in the entire world. I'm one of 2, maybe 3 that I know of in Ireland. So it's very slow, but it is expanding. I'm working with Dr. Kieran Kenny in Trinity College. I just had my first case study the other day with a friend of mine that has vocal nodules, and I'm working with this speech and language therapist to try and help her overcome the vocal nodules. That's the first time I've ever worked with an SLT hand in hand with the client in the room, actually discussing her issues and what I could do to make her better vocally, what vocal technique exercises I would use, vocal technique exercises he would use, and they're quite different, you know, but also in a weird way quite similar. The best vocal scope you could get is a stroboscopy, as it works literally like a strobe light. It takes quick flashes, quick pictures of your vocal cords when they're in action, so you can really see how they move, quite detailed. You can have the video and the pictures in the long run, but again, there's only 1 or 2 of them in Ireland and the waiting list is gigantor. So, and most of the time, clients that have vocal nodules, most of the time they wouldn't have to get surgery. You can actually overcome vocal nodules quite easily, just the natural way, by steaming, not talking too much, not gigging for a while. SOVT, incorporating vocal massage into your routine. Singers don't realise that they need to massage their throat nice and supple around the neck and shoulder area. So that's my story. After all that, when I graduated, I opened up Voice Care Ireland here in Bray. It's not just singers that I see. I'm seeing all different walks of life come in here and with vocal issues. That's my story. So if you have any questions at all, I'd be glad to answer any of the questions that you may have. It's a very difficult thing to go through. The stigma around having a vocal issue, it's very difficult. I didn't tell anybody. This is the first time I'm actually publicly speaking about it. And it's not a big deal. You can get over it yourself if it's not too serious. You will get people, and I have experienced not ever hearing from colleagues that I had worked with before ever again, because you're damaged goods in their eyes. They don't want to work with you, or they're not patient enough, or they don't believe you that you have a vocal issue. They'll move on to the next person. If a singer is saying to you, there's something wrong with my voice, I have a problem, it isn't the way it used to be, something isn't right, listen to them. Just listen to them, because if they're saying there's something wrong, there's definitely something wrong. Whether it's a tiny issue or else a more serious problem. You cannot see a singer's instrument. If it's a guitarist and they're like, oh, I'm after straining my wrist, pull the muscle, they'll be like, don't worry about it, come back next week, or we'll get you a dep. If it's a singer with a sore throat, they're just being a drama queen. You'll be grand, just take a bit of honey there, you'll be fine. If it's a vocal hemorrhage, if it's a nodule, if it's a polyp, if it's anything, you can't just solve it easily with a drop of honey or a rest for a night. It's a very delicate situation, really, and you really need people to be on your side and work with people that understand you as a vocalist. It's very important. And if you want to ask me any questions or book in a voice assessment with me, let me know, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.